Alrighty guys, this is snugsonblitz and I'm back with another video for you today. So we're here guys, tier 10, we finally made it. And hopefully my tier making ability has improved as we've gone along. Yes, tier 6 was a bit rough. I couldn't find a good blitz list, which was a shame. So I went with what I had. And since I don't play tier 6 regularly, some of the tanks I'd forgotten. I couldn't recognize them. And of course you have tanks like the T-3485 versus the Type 58, which are almost identical. So it made it tough. However, look at the screen guys. Yes, I found one with thumbnails that are not only bigger, but they have their legendary camos and they have the names underneath the tanks. Yes, so it will be super easy today. I don't have to search for any tanks. I don't have to rearrange things. I don't have to do anything. I just go la-la. So lucky us. I expect this video is going to run about 40 minutes because I don't waste time and I want to get through it. I think you guys are busy and have other things to do. You've probably even watched some of the other YouTubers' tier lists out there already. I'm putting this list together to give you my thoughts after update 10.3. I've played almost all the tanks and I've listened and watched some videos on the other tanks. So I think I have a good idea of how they perform on the battlefield. So with that out of the way, let's get to it. Starting off with the Sheridan. And remember, I am rating these tanks based on what I think an average/good player can do on the battlefield. If they take this tank out, will they be able to perform well with it? Or will they struggle with it? Or will it be OP for them? I mean, with just a little bit of effort, a little bit of finesse, can they get it up to maybe 60%? Or will they drop down in the 40s? So, let's take a look-see. Sheridan. Got a little bit of a nerf in the last update, unfortunately. So, I still think it's a pretty good tank if you play it as a sniper to begin and push in a little bit later. You can't outspot the bat chat now, which is a problem, I believe. But yeah, I still think this is a pretty solid tank. I don't think I'm going to put it in strong anymore because some of the other tanks have just surpassed it. That long reload can be a killer. Anyway, moving on to the M60. I think for most players, again, I'm gonna think it's, normal. It's gotten a little bit better, but it's a medium tank. If you're not great with gun depression, you're not gonna perform that well with it. But maybe I want to put it in strong. I'm torn between that, so we'll come back to that when we get a chance. The M48 pattern, I'm going to put it right next to the M60 because they're almost identical. So where goes one, the other follows. Now the T57, a lot of people were saying this tank has lost its edge. They were putting it just average or okay. I took it out and I was like, wow, I thought this tank got nerfed. And I was pleasantly surprised, to be honest with you. I really expected to perform much worse than it did. Pretty easy with that 3-shell magazine. And so I'm going to put it in, I think I'm going to put it in very strong. Strong for now. But I could put it in very strong. Okay, we'll think about that. I'll leave it in very strong for now. It's not a hard tank to play. Likewise, the Yo, I think, is also a very strong tank. I think good players might put the Yo in OP. And a lot of people have said, like, the 2-gun is the way to go. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think 3 shells. Although those 2 shells can be devastating, yeah, that reload can be a killer. So I'm going to put it in very strong, though. They seem to perform as well as the T-57. I felt the Yo was a better holding tank, so you could bounce more shells, and the T-57 was better damage-wise. That's what I found anyway. The E5 has definitely been improved. I think I'm going to put it in strong or very strong. I know some people say it's very strong. I'm just thinking of most players and kind of crazy bounces you're going to get. Okay, I guess I'll put it in very strong for now. I might rethink about. I might have a think about that as we go along. E3, it's a one-dimensional tank, unfortunately. I think most people, it'll just be normal. The armor is solid. The speed boost does help. But, yeah. I'm going to stick with normal. The E4, a lot of people are ranting and raving about it. The armor has definitely been improved, I feel. However, the gun, I've had some crazy misses in this. And I don't know what it is about it, but I was a little bit disappointed. So I can only say it's strong. A lot of people want to put it up into very strong or OP. I didn't feel that was the case. So I think new players will get in trouble with it. And so I'm just going to keep it in strong. The E50M. Now that is a very strong tank. Yep. That tank can do the business on the battlefield. Was very strong before, still very strong now. Yeah. Armor improved. I mean, on the E50M, did it need it? Goodness me. The Leopard. Lack of armor is the problem with this tank. It's definitely not bad, but I think I can only put it in normal for most players. If you know how to play medium, it jumps up into very strong. If you don't really know how to play mediums with no armor especially, it goes into normal. That's my feeling on it. But the DPM is crazy good in this tank now. The gun is sublime. But if you get lit up and you're sitting there in the open or not using your speed and they can punish you, you're not going to be lasting on the battlefield very much. So, the mouse. I still think this is a pretty strong tank. Just a little bit of wiggle. That's all you got to remember. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. You know, you'll bounce some crazy things. You can use sandbag armor, really boost up those hit points. Yeah, it can be a real beast on the battlefield. Gun feels good. Yeah, I don't know why people are putting just down in normal for me. I think it's a strong tank. I mean, good players, I'd put it very strong, I think. I know that you might think I'm crazy, but yeah. The 100 was a tough tank for me in the sense that when I started it after the update, I just ran into a lot of OP platoons. I was getting ripped apart. Not because the tank is bad, but just because bad positioning, bad angles, things like that. They just ripped me apart. However, played a few more games, and I can definitely say it's strong. Yes, very strong. Yeah, sorry. Armor, good. Gun, intimidating. HE, as you know, Happy sent out a challenge to YouTubers to do HE. I'll probably do that a little bit later on. Taking my time. No real rush. The VK 7201. I think this is very strong, actually. I think this is a great tank now. And I found the improved suspension to really make this tank a much more versatile tank. And the armor definitely feels buffed as well. So yeah, a lot of low caliber guns are going to struggle with this tank. Frontally, of course. Yeah. The Jaegeru. I'm going to put it a little bit higher than the E3 because that tungsten shell really boosts that damage. So you can really punish tanks now. You do not want to pop out into the open or sideways with this tank adding its tungsten shell. I mean, you can say good nighty-night. Oh, wow. I don't think this needed tungsten at all. The tank was doing fine, but I guess it's now more of a threat on the battlefield. Maybe it wasn't performing as well before the update. So yeah, I think this is a very strong tank now. Sorry, a strong tank. Getting confused between strong and very strong. I apologize about that. The grill. I feel it's lost something. I'm sorry. So, the lack of armor definitely hurts it. The lack of the alpha hurts it. I mean, give it camo for goodness sake. I mean, that's really what it's got going for it. I mean, it's a light tank. It should have good camo. Normal, bad, average player. I'm gonna put in bad, actually. Yeah, the gun bounces when you're moving around. it's got a lot of negatives, so I think it's lost a bit. And I think a lot of players are going to struggle with this if they're just okay players. That being said, it's easy to play in the sense that you just find a bush and snipe, so you got that going for you. But if your team goes the wrong way, or you don't have spotting, or etc., and of course if you get lit up, you're heading back to the garage pretty soon. I mean, of course, if tanks are there anyway. The T100 Light, yeah, it's lost a little bit. I still think it's a strong tank. Yeah, the spotting mechanism is so helpful. You can really help your team just by simply tapping them and letting your teammates know where the enemy are. You've also got great speed. The gun is solid. Yeah, I still think this is a strong tank. Used to be very strong, almost OP when it first came out. Yeah, I love this tank. I was like, holy crap, this is strong. Didn't play that many games in it because I felt this is overcooked. So I'm not a big fan of overcooked tanks. It's just one of my things. I want to play a strong tank, but not an overcooked tank. T62A. This is one of my nemesises. Back in the day, I used to platoon with a guy and would run tier 10, and he was really struggling tier 10, and so my stats really suffered in this tank. But we had a good time doing it, so who cares? I think this is a good tank. To me, it's normal. I don't think it's quite got the edge. I mean, I think the Patton and M60 are easier to play, like peeking over. T62 doesn't quite have the gun depression that they have. I think it's easier for them to get their shots off. So unless you're good with mediums, if you're good with mediums, hey, put in strong. But I'm going to stick it with normal. It definitely feels improved in some ways, and it's lost something in others. So it's kind of a mixed bag for me. Object 140, I like this tank a lot, but I think for most players it's going to be a normal. DPM great, and you can do a lot of damage, that's for sure, but you can also get ripped apart. So, yeah, I think it's very similar to a Leopard in its ability to perform on the battlefield for most average good players, right? We're not talking pros here, and this is not how I would rank them for myself. It's just I'm thinking how I see players play these tanks on the battlefield. So I run into players and I see, oh wow, how did you do after the game? And oh, you're a 45% player. Yeah, I can see you don't really know how to play that tank. A 50% player, I'm like, oh yeah, you don't know how to play that tank either. And then a 50% player dominates in some of these tanks. I'm like, wow, and you have pretty good stats in them, so it must be easy for them to play. Now I know some tanks gel with certain players, but this is just my feelings on the battlefield. Okay, IS-4. Everybody's saying this is just okay, it's nothing special. I'm going to go strong. Yeah, this was a surprise for me. I expected it to be pretty bad. Took it out for a spin. I was like, oh, win. Bouncing shells here and there. I was like, what's wrong with this tank? It's strong. Yeah, maybe it's not as strong as it once was, but I still think it's strong. It just doesn't belong in very strong anymore. It's a shame, but still a very good tank. Now the IS-7, well, you got tungsten. So tungsten are game changers. So I'm going to put it up into OP. Yeah, I think this tank has gotten back its glory days. Way back when the IS-7 was one of the creme de la creme in tier 10. And then it just got nerfed and got pushed all the way down to just normal. But now it's back up to where it belongs. Yes, it's an OP tank, I think. The 268, the jack of all traits tank destroyer. It can do a little bit of everything. You can play it as a medium, you can play it as a sniper. I'm going to go strong. I don't think it's very strong for most players, but I think it's definitely competitive for sure. Can definitely dish out the damage, yeah. 4K games not that hard to do. Just like the T57, I was like, whoa, 4K. Ooh, that was easy. I think I had both of these tanks I took out for a spin 4 games in a row. Both of them I did 4K. And I was like, wow, that was easy. Wasn't really that tough. Object 263. Armor definitely feels improved. That's nice. And it's a bit of a bully. But it's lost a bit of its speed. So for the average player, good player, I'm going to put it here. If you know how to play it very strong, maybe bordering on OP, but I'm just going to stick it in strong for now. That's just my feeling. As I said, when I've come up against them and I see the players after the game, I'll think, oh, yeah, you don't really know how to play it. And yet it's a pretty easy tank to do a lot of damage in. The Vickers Light. Oh, sad, sad day. Oh, poor Vickers. The Vickers has lost pretty much everything. And I think it's worse than the Leopard, the T62, and the Object 140. So sadly it goes into bad. Yes, what a shame. Such a good tank, but yeah, now there are just better tanks out there. A shame. FV4202, again, for the average player. Does have that hash. It's still quite agile. I think it's going to scrape into normal. Scrape in. And I mean, it's on the verge of getting down into bad, but I still think its mobility is great. Yeah, especially the reverse speed. So you can pop on out, shoot, get back behind cover. Yeah, I think that is nice. And the hash gun, or if you choose the other gun, both are solid guns now. You're going to have to find out which one works for you. I would go with hash just because it's unique. But that's just me. The Chieftain. It's always been strong. I think it's going to stay strong. I don't think it's very strong anymore. It was very strong, but I still think it's performance on the battlefield. FV215B. I was expecting this tank to be normal or bad. I think for most players, I'm going to have to put it in strong. I think for good players, really good players, sorry, pros, I would put it maybe OP or very strong. I'm torn between the two. Yeah, got that speed boost. Love that speed boost. FV4005, your job is to do damage. That's not hard to do. The problem is staying alive doing the damage. You're as big as a house. Average players, I think, will struggle with it. Again, OP players or people pros, it goes up to OP or very strong. Yeah, it's just a deadly tank. You run the two of these in a platoon, that's 8 shells. You can just like rip through pretty much every tank in the game. It's just crazy good. FE183. Yuck. Sorry. It's just still a bad tank. And I know Wargaming doesn't want to make it too strong, because if they boost it a little bit, suddenly you're going to have FE183s running around even more than they are so now. I think that's why they keep it nerfed and not wanting to improve it. But it's just a tank that's just luck. I saw one guy, he was a 46% player, he did 8.2k, and this was a long time ago. So yeah, the tank can perform, but you just got to have the right maps, the right positions, and the right enemy tanks to shoot at. So yeah, sadly though, most of the time it's not that easy, and you're going to struggle. So you'll either do 4K or 0. I think that's pretty much the standard. A lot of games you'll do 2K because you have 2 shots, and that's about it. Tough tank to play, I think, for most players. The STB. While I really like this tank, and I think it's OP, I think for most players, I can only say strong. Yeah, it's a little slow. Yeah, I was surprised at the speed of the tank. The Object 140 was like zoom. The E50 zoom. The STB was like chugga 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 chugga. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? So that I think that's really makes it feel different than the Patton's. The STB has better gun depression, better hull down capability. The Patton feels more mobile, in my opinion. Can't explain it sometimes, but that's just how I felt when I took it out for a drive. The Hori, I think this is very strong. The armor. People struggle to pen this, and a lot of newer players, they're gonna use not Pramel, and not Pramel means you're gonna struggle to get through this. The maneuverability was affected, but I still think this is a strong tank. And the gun can penetrate everything if you load Pramel. Boom, boom, anything can pretty much wreck, unless you get the bad angles, unfortunately. The WZ132-1 has been improved, but I still think for most players, I'm going to put in bad. I'm sorry. I think it's a good tank compared to what it once was, but I still think it needs a little bit more. For most players, they're going to struggle with this tank. And considering this was one of the new lines that came into the game, you'd think Wargaming would want to make it a little decently strong to encourage people to go down the line, but yeah, when you've got so many tanks better than this, why would you go for this? Sorry. I just don't think it's good for newer players. WZ121 gets tungsten, goes right here. Yes, strong, definitely strong. Gun depression can be a little bit tricky if you're not good with that. But yeah, you'll get bounces. It sometimes feels like a heavy, like, whoa, look at all the bounces I'm getting from these lower caliber guns. Wiggle, 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 bounce, 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 hold down. Yeah, great tank. I really like it. I've always liked it. Still like it today. WZ113, armor. Yes, keeps you alive. Gun, great. Mobility, good with some exceptions. But yeah, I still think it's very strong. Not quite very strong, though. You don't want to overextend and get caught out. I had a great game in the WZ121 when I had to face a 113. It might have been up. I can't remember if I've shared it just yet. But yeah, you want to check out that game. That was a crazy game. Loved it. I can't think of the title of what I've called it. Maybe I'll just call it Crazy Game. Maybe I'll go back and change the game to. I'll change the title to Crazy, because it is crazy. The WZ113G. Well, this used to be down in normal for me. It was just not a very good tank. I thought it kind of stunk actually for a lot of people. Now, hello, at least it got some love. It's strong now. Armor works. Thank goodness. And I do feel it's maybe even better than the E3, albeit slightly. They could be interchanged, so I think I'm going to give it the edge. It just feels a tougher tank to pen these days, and people don't know how to pen it now. Yeah, the E3 hasn't really changed that much, but the WZ113 definitely feels enhanced. That's for sure, armor-wise. What else we got? We got the Bat Chat. Average player, I'm going to put, even average player is very strong. Yeah, I kind of want to put an OP, but average players will just rush in too quickly and just get slaughtered. But it's still a very strong tank. You can flank with ease. You can outspot people. Oh, what a lovely tank this is now. Definitely a tank you want to get now to have in your garage. It's crazy fun. If you're not good with mediums, then don't play it, or lights. But if you got the hang of them, kinda, I think you'll be golden. AMX-50B, the gun feels nice. I like the gun. DPM potential, great. Armor has been affected somewhat, so you're not going to get those nice bounces you used to get. I'm going to put in strong. It still feels like a very strong tank to me. It still feels like a strong tank to me. I think good players will put in very strong, but I think I'm just going to keep it strong. The Foch, yeah, I don't think so. I think I'm gonna just put it in normal. It's not what it used to be. I'm sad, but I mean, if you can snipe in the beginning and keep your armor and hit points working from the back of the map, I think it'll be okay. I found them easier to take out than I did before, but I mean, I've also seen people do quite well with them because, you know, if you go up against somebody who doesn't know how to pen them, it can really be problematic. Yeah, you'll get some bounces. But if you go against good players, yeah, good luck. TVP, it's no longer OP. I'm going to put it in... I'm still going to say very strong. It's still a very strong tank. The ability to pump out 4 shells in a row. Boom, boom, boom. You wait for them to fire. Boom. You pop out. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, it's like, holy crap. Yeah, it's a very deadly tank. Just play it like a peekaboo. Keep your eye on when tanks have shot, or you see tracers through the air, or you hear them shoot, and then pop on in and introduce yourself. Especially if there's a tank such as, let's say, I'm thinking of a slightly long reload. Let's say the I don't know. Let's say the FV4005 has fired 3 of his shells. You pop out, you take 1 hit, and then you unload your shells on him. Boom, 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 boom. And he's going to be on a long reload. Or the FV183. I mean, he'll be at your mercy. You can't reload if he's just fired, and he just pops out. So, TVP, yeah, I still think very strong. Not as strong as it once was. The Progetto, I definitely think it's strong. Yeah, the auto-reloader mechanism is still really good. The mobility really helps it and keeps it alive. I think it doesn't quite have the armor of these tanks down here, like the T-62 and the Object 140, but I definitely think it's an awkward tank to deal with sometimes. Just because you don't know how many shells it's got loaded, and you have kind of keeping track of it is tough. 60 TP, still very strong. It's not OP, but it is very strong. Yeah, it's easy to do damage to that tank. The VZ55, it got a nice little buff. I'm going to put it into strong now. I would have put it in normal before update 10.3, but now I think it's right where it should be. Again, though, I mean, if it's a new tier line, I do think Wargaming should slightly cook the books and give it something special. Better pen or better armor or something, and that way people want to go and get them. That's why people still keep going to get the 60 TP, because the gun works, the armor works. Yeah, you get ammo rack from time to time, but VZ doesn't have that intimidation factor, and people want that special, unique thing. I mean, the Hori, for example, that super pen. People are like, ooh, I like this. Anyway, moving on, the Krav. I think the Krav in the right position. It's OP, I think. Yeah, it's been buffed. You know how to go hold down. You're golden. This tank is a stopper. I mean, it really can stop tanks. It's easy to dish out the damage in this tank as well. Yeah, I definitely think it's moved from very strong into OP. Minotauro, again, the armor is very, very solid, as we all know. I think I'm just going to go very strong. Just be careful of firing those 3 shells and how you use them. So, but yeah, I think very strong. Super Conk, lost a bit, but I still think it's a hull down beast. So, just struggle to pen it. So, yeah. VK90, I am going to say this goes right here. Almost verging on OP, actually. In the right positions, this tank is not getting dislodged. It's not, unless you've got maybe a Hori gun or just ultimate accuracy. You can hit those spots. Yeah, this tank is the ultimate side scraper now. Wow. Yeah, this is a tough tank. Very, very strong to deal with. And it's easy to dish out a lot of damage. I see a lot of people doing 3K, 4K, not really breaking a sweat and not taking that much damage. The AMX M454, thank goodness, it's still kept its armor. I'm gonna go. Well, I believe it has tungsten shells. I'm gonna go very strong. Yeah, it's not a hard tank to play. I don't think it is pretty big, but yeah, it's still got a lot of red and decently agile. So. Yeah, I know you think I'm probably crazy for putting the E4 in strong, but as I said, the gun missed a lot of shots that it didn't before, and I was bouncing shots that I made before, so I was a little bit frustrated with it. And if I'm frustrated, I imagine other people would be frustrated too. But the M454 seems to be a decently strong tank, yeah, so I would stick it there. AMX 30B, I think for the average player, I'm actually going to go very strong. This is a much improved tank, like the Bat Chat. Good players, pro players, I should say. OP, yeah, just like the Bat Chat. Move in there. Great tank. But I think for most players, it's got the mobility, it's got the gun, it's got the armor, it can do a little bit of everything. Yeah, I really like the improvements they've made, and I think it's a tank you want to get now. Concept 1B, I still think it's a hull down beast. Just go hull down and you're going to struggle to pen this tank. It is a tough cookie to deal with. WZ 115, I think, again, stuck in normal. I give it the edge. I mean, I don't think it's a very good tank, and I think a lot of players who might pick this up, if they don't have much experience, will really struggle because they just don't know how to play tier 10 yet. But the armor will keep it alive. The hit points keep it alive over these tanks down here, the 132 and the Vickers Light and the Grill. So, gonna give that the edge. The Badger armor keeps it alive. Gun crazy good. I'm gonna put it in very strong. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's changed much. It was very strong, still very strong. Maybe pros put it in OP. I don't know, but it's easy to do damage in this tank. Yeah, and you can just shred. The problem with a tank such as like the Jaegeru is if you miss one shell, you're kind of at the mercy of tanks. In this tank, I mean, yeah, good luck. I mean, it reloads faster than many mediums, or almost. So yeah, boom, it shreds. So you don't want to sit in front of that tank. T22, the armor boost. It's back to its bouncy self. I think most people with some crazy bounces and be laughing all the way to the bank or all the way to the victory. Almost want to put it in very strong, but you know, I'm gonna stick with strong. I'm just gonna say strong. You can disagree with me in the comments below if you like. The 121 definitely feels improved actually. That speed boost helps it, so I'm gonna put it in very strong. It's not normal. I think it can get you out of trouble. You can get out of the way. I think you have tungsten shells as well now, if I'm not mistaken. That gives it something different. Yeah, this tank feels better. It's not very strong, but I definitely think it's got an edge over the Soviets right now. I expect one day they will change that, but for now, I'm gonna take it because this tank was languishing down in almost the bad realm at one point. Object 268-4, I mean, it just stand in front of people and take a frick ton of shells like the Badger. I mean, it's a tough tank to pin if you don't know what you're doing. So yeah, the gun hits hard, reloads pretty fast. It's strong, very strong. Yeah, gotta put it there. T95E6, I'm gonna put in very strong as well. Yeah, I think pros would put this maybe almost an OP, but I'm gonna stick with very strong. Yeah, it can really punish mediums. Use it as a medium. And you'll be surprised, like, wow, I can bounce a lot of these shells, I can take a lot of damage, and I can rip right through them. So yeah, it's a medium killer for me. And we're down to our last final tank, the Object 260. I definitely think it has been improved armor-wise, so I'm gonna give it the edge over those tanks. I'm gonna get it put into strong. I do wish it had its mobility back, but mobility gets not great players into trouble sometimes because you rush too quickly and get into bad positions that make you suffer. So there you go. Those are my thoughts. Let's see if I want to change anything. Okay, I've got the IS-7 sure and the Krav up at the top. Do I want to put any other tank in there? I'm thinking about the good. No, I think I'm good with that. Strong tanks. Do any strong tanks need to be moved up or moved down? Let me take a quick look-see. The E4 is the one I'm really questioning. I mean, the armor improvement's good, but I don't know. Maybe my loadout's wrong for the tank. Maybe that's what it is. I'm just not hitting the shells I used to. So it does have the intimidation factor. No, I'm gonna stick with strong. I think that's okay. T22, the armor, STB. I mean, maybe very strong. Should I move it up there? No. I think I'm good. I think I'm gonna stick with that. 183 users. I'm sorry. Grill, you had better days. Vickers Light. Oh, how sad. WZ132-1 still needs a little something. I think Wargaming, maybe a slightly better turret or maybe a speed boost or something. Who knows? But I still think for newer players, it's a tough tank to play. The Foch, the only reason it gets into normal, just like the WZ111, is it's got hit points and it's got armor, so that keeps it alive a little bit longer than the tanks down below, and they can't really be HE'd frontally anyway. So there you go. What do you think? Agree, disagree? Think I'm completely off my rocker? That's okay. Remember, this is not the way I would choose tanks for myself. It's how I see other people performing on the battlefield. And you can say, but Snugs, I see on the stats that this is... Yeah, but that's including everybody. I'm not trying to include pros really on this list, and I'm not trying to include numbnuts in this list. I'm trying to just go for people who are okay and have kind of got the hang of the game at least and know the map somewhat. So yeah, I think I'm going to stick with that. There you go, my tier 10 list. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And of course, if you didn't know already, I have now started my Patreon account. Yes, so if you want to platoon with me, if you're in Asia, you can do so by joining my Patreon. I can also do a review of your tanks. There's different tiers you can choose. Any support I can get would be appreciated. Anyway, that's all I got for you. I'll see you tomorrow. Snugs on Blitz, out.